Apple just announced their brand new iPad 11 and iPad Air 3 with a new Magic Keyboard, and while some are saying that these updates are boring, I actually believe that Apple's changes are quite genius, increasing their domination of the tablet space while at the same time fixing their entire iPad lineup for the first time in years. So in this video, I'm gonna explain every single change to these new iPads, including a secret that Apple kept from you, and I'm gonna explain why I'm personally excited about these new iPads. Starting off, the biggest change in my opinion is coming to the iPad 11, and if you've been waiting a while to upgrade, this is actually the most perfect time in years with basically the most amount of value. Apple just came out and doubled the storage to 128 gigs while keeping the same $349 price, and they also updated a few things about the iPad itself, which is great. Now, compared to previous years, you now finally have a modernized iPad design with USB-C on the bottom, as well as a new USB-C Apple Pencil for a great price versus the old crappy Lightning Pencil that everybody hated. So it's pretty much the perfect budget iPad to buy and keep for basically 10 years. Now, when Apple first announced this redesigned iPad 10, it was insanely expensive at $449, but with only 64 gigs of storage. But now that they've doubled it and upgraded to the A16 chip at the same time, this basically just became the best value iPad of all time. Now, I do have some thoughts on Apple choosing the A16 chip versus the A18 like they did for the iPhone 16e, but first I want to mention this post from Max Weinbach showing how Apple's budget iPad and iPad Air together drove basically all of the growth of Apple's iPad division, which just reached a new all-time high in revenue. But it now just got a lot better with these two iPad announcements, which I'll get more into the details on the Air in just a minute, but first I gotta talk about the A16 and the iPad 11. Now, we did have some leaks about this iPad getting the A17 Pro chip, then maybe the A18 chip for Apple Intelligence, but none of that happened. We simply got the A16, which means no Apple Intelligence. So why would Apple do this? Well, it's actually quite genius. But first, our sponsor ESR has a bunch of must-have accessories for the iPad 11, like their new flip magnetic case, which has a pencil holder built in for security, while coming with a tri-fold design, giving you 3 horizontal viewing angles up to 25 degrees, making it super stable on any surface, while also being great for vertical browsing. And to protect the screen, ESR's new Ultra Fit screen protector is super easy to apply with just 2 steps. Place your iPad down, close the lid, and pull. That's it, giving you a dust and bubble free protector with excellent drop protection since it's 2 times stronger than standard screen protectors. And for artists, this Geo Digital pencil has built-in Find My support with a button at the top that has a battery indicator and is used as a home button, and it's compatible with all iPads since 2018. They also have the Rebound magnetic keyboard case that has strong magnets holding it in place and has a really nice multi-touch trackpad, and the keys are backlit with 7 colors and 3 brightness levels, which is nice. So go ahead and check out all of ESR's accessories using our links below or the pinned comment. Now, getting back to Apple's choice of the A16 chip for the iPad 11, I think it's all about making the rest of the iPad lineup look better and getting you to spend more. And honestly, the A16 chip is actually quite powerful. Even the A14 was already good for this iPad, but A16 makes it even better. But Apple did slip in a secret without anybody noticing. The A16 chip in the new iPad 11 is actually double binned, which means it only has a 5-core CPU and a 4-core GPU, while the original A16 chip in the iPhone 15 had a 6-core CPU and 5-core GPU. That means that we should expect the performance to be a bit lower than what we see on Geekbench's website for the A16. So basically, it looks like Apple used a bunch of old binned A16 chips that they kept saving up that had a little bit of flaws that they didn't want to throw away, but they just kept it in a bucket from the iPhone 15. So they figured out that they could just take those flawed chips, disable a CPU and GPU core, salvage them instead of just throwing them all away, and save some money by putting them into a future product like this iPad 11. And to me, that actually makes sense if it helped them keep the price down to $349 while doubling the storage. I think that right there matters a whole lot more to regular consumers that are actually in the market for this iPad than just basically giving us a much better chip, but having to raise the price. Now, getting into some of the other changes, you can now get 512 gigs of storage on this iPad. They also upgraded the Smart HDR to number 4. Now, that is gonna improve the photos, but who really cares? Who takes photos with their iPad, especially budget iPad? I don't know. The bigger change actually is Bluetooth 5.3 support, which is a big deal because the latest AirPods 4 use Bluetooth 5.3, so that's a perfect match. However, there's actually another secret. Apple removed the physical nano SIM slot for the iPad 11 cellular models. So don't let that surprise you when you order it. And now with that said, let's move on to the iPad Air M3. We have two sizes just like before, 11-inch for $600, 13-inch for $800. The biggest change is of course the M3 chip, which gets you a couple of advantages like ray tracing support on that chip. However, it's not the same M3 as you saw in other machines. You now have a binned 9-core GPU versus the 10-core that came in the M3 MacBook Air upgraded models. But at least that's better than the cheapest MacBook Air, which got an 8-core CPU and 8-core GPU config. So it does look like they're still using salvaged higher-end M3 chips for this iPad Air. No other significant changes. That's probably the smallest change in a while. Just a minor spec bump to the M3 with the genius purpose of getting everyone to finally stop waiting to purchase a new iPad and just get one right now, since this proves that if you want the M4 chip, you have to get the iPad Pro, seeing as we had a lot of leaks that pointed to potentially getting the M4 chip in the iPad Air, but no. So now Apple's iPad lineup finally makes a ton of sense all the way around. You have a budget $349 iPad with a good chip that does not support Apple Intelligence. Then if you want that, you get the iPad mini with the A17 Pro chip with a lot of extra performance and the perfect size for gaming with Apple Intelligence. You have the iPad Air with the M3 for a powerful, larger iPad with 2 different size options at a pretty decent price. And then you have the crazy expensive M4 iPad Pro for the best of the best performance and the best tandem OLED 120Hz ProMotion display that you can get, basically destroying all other tablets with that iPad Pro. And the last thing to mention is the brand new Magic Keyboard 2 for the iPad Air, which now has a bunch of upgrades like the function keys, it has a new hinge design, it has a nice glass trackpad, which is so much better than on the previous Magic Keyboard. And this is actually the same keyboard from the iPad Pro, but without the aluminum top on the top case. So Apple is really trying hard to push the iPad Pro ahead in terms of the luxurious feel, and it's finally working. My only thought is whether Apple will lower the M5 iPad Pro's price or not, but we actually are not expecting that until next year in 2026. So Apple is hoping to extend the lifespan of the M4 iPad Pro model to get more sales. So with that said, we likely won't see any other iPads for the rest of the year. So now is the best time to buy, and I'm gonna leave the links to these 2 new iPads below in the comment section and description, as well as all the best deals on the rest of the iPad lineup, like $100 off the iPad mini for only $400, or the 13-inch M4 iPad Pro for $200 off. So definitely check that out, as well as our sponsor ESR's cases and screen protector, which works great. So with that said, thanks for watching. Definitely subscribe for more videos like this one. Check out one of those 2 right there, and we'll see you in the next video.